Hey everybody, and welcome to my new video. So I'm out here in Japan. Today's my last day and my rental car had mad issues. I got this Subaru Impreza STI, took it back to the rental car company today and they gave me this as my replacement for today only. I have to take it back in a couple of hours, so I thought where better to do a video than out here in sunny Japan. Join me in the Nissan Skyline GTR 34. Now this car, not only being super iconic as a Japanese, can we call these supercars? They're almost like supercar killers, aren't they? Because I'm driving around in this GTR and this car, not only is it being an icon of the Japanese automotive industry, it's also one of my icons. I grew up on Gran Turismo. That was the first ever PlayStation game my dad bought me. The GTR was always one of the cars I chose on the games, and I always thought growing up, I'm gonna own one of those when I'm older. Because at the time, they weren't that expensive, considering what they are. Well, in the last 2 years, you've seen the boom of the Japanese old school iconic cars going right up, and they are expensive now, it's a matter of fact. So let's start off with what I know about these cars. RB26 twin turbo engine. They produce from standard 275 brake horsepower across the Japanese gentleman's agreement that I'm sure we've all heard about by now. I don't know how much this one produces because this is an old used GTR that obviously gets used a lot for rentals, which means it's not the best. It's not the best example. It's a bit tatty, it's a bit dinged up, but it's still a GTR, and nothing will ever be able to take that away from it. It is still a GTR. Now, I love these cars so much. Just seeing one, especially out here in its native Japan, makes me go, oh my god, it's a GTR! And I know that sounds, I just couldn't believe it when I got one today that this was what I was going to get to drive around in, and I feel very honoured to be in Japan in a GTR, and the smile on my face hasn't left since they gave me the keys for this. And I think that really speaks volumes about the car itself. It's one of those cars that just feels special. Even when third and fourth crunch into gear, it feels special. And I literally love it. I love being in it. I love pulling up to stop signs, pulling up to shops like this one. I'm just gonna swing around in here and go back. And it's just really made the end of my Japan trip that bit better. Okay, so the 275 brake, I have had the chance to give it some beef today, and it does get put down very well. And the reason for that is obviously it's all-wheel drive, and it just means the grip, it just means the way that the car puts the power it has down is sublime. The car itself, you hear the third gear crunch? So the car itself, I always thought these were going to be quite sluggish. Not sluggish as in slow, but sluggish as in, oh my goodness me, it's heavy. It's like, I was wrong. I'm very, very wrong on that. The car feels so nimble as you're moving through traffic. Just in traffic jams, the car feels so easy to drive. It feels, I don't know what to really compare it to. It just feels like a normal car when you're driving it around. You put your foot down, it turns into a monster. And I can understand why it's called Godzilla, just based off of the noise itself. So, the car itself with its big wide boy body kit on it from standard, it's all big arches, big, wide, meaty bonnet and bumpers and arches, and oh, it just looks, in my opinion, obviously I have to state that it's my opinion because people may disagree, but I think it looks phenomenal. It has such a presence about it. I'm not gonna lie, I am absolutely in love with this car. The problem is, for me, is when I fall in love with a car like this, I want one. Now the price of these have gone from being roughly like 25 to 30,000 pounds to 45 to 60,000 pounds, depending on the model you get and the spec. From what I understand, one sold for like 150,000 pounds or 200,000 pounds the other day, like a V-Spec 2, I think it was, or a Nerve pack or something. I don't. But are they really worth that money? I think to a collector, if you're looking at it going, yes, I want a GTR 34, that's all I want, I don't care what the money is, then obviously they're worth that. People are paying it, so it's got to be worth that to somebody. But to an average Joe like me, that would really only be using the car, let's say, once a week, and not in the winter, it's obviously not viable for me. But it's phenomenal just to be in one and drive around in one, especially in Japan. And there's just, I don't know if you guys are getting this across, but like how special it makes me feel right now. It's genuinely been like, I've had an amazing trip out here, and having to cut it early kind of sucked a little bit, but then the car breaking yesterday, and then this being its replacement for the day, just has made my day. I've even texted my dad going, they've given me a GTR as a replacement. This is the best day ever. So all I've been able to do is drive through Tokyo to the airport and back, because that's where I'm staying tonight. So I dropped my bags off, and it's just, it's a GTR, man. It's just a GTR, and I just adore it. And I mean that, I really do. I adore just driving around, just going around the little back lanes in it. I'm like, oh man, I'm in a GTR. Oh, she's good. Just adore that noise. This is the first time I've ever driven a Skyline of any shape, I've never driven a Skyline before. I only drove Pete's R32 in our industrial estate, like up and down, and this is special, man. So I really should talk about like how dated everything is now, I guess. So this like display screen up here, it does look like the graphics off of a PlayStation 1, but I probably would say that when these were coming out, these were PlayStation 1s, right? Like the graphics, like the games console out at the time was a PlayStation 1, so I don't think that's really out of point. All the rest of it though, I mean obviously it's not a modern car, but it's alright. It's a nice place to be. I wouldn't complain, obviously, if I had one, because it's a freaking GTR and I really, really want one. But the noise on the downshift, so if you give it a little bit of rev matching, oh, it's so good. So that lorry get a bit ahead of us. The grip! The grip! There's just so much grip! If I was to do that in my Silvia, it'd be like it's just pure grip. It's just amazing, and I can't explain how much I love it. Now, I'm actually gonna go out on a whim here and say that if this car was your only car and you don't have a dog, I think these seats in the back, they have legroom, like minuscule leg. You could probably have kids in here. So I would say, I'm gonna go out on a whim here and say, this is the perfect family car. The perfect family car. Your kids are gonna love it, because you get to say, should we go out in the Godzilla? Should we go out in the GTR? They're gonna be like, yeah! These seats are very, very comfy, even though this one's pretty broken now, but the seats themselves are very, very comfortable. They've got really nice support to them as well, and they've aged pretty well, to be honest. This car's got 94,000 kilometers on the clock, so she's done some mileage, and I'm assuming they're not the kindest of miles or kilometers, because it's a rental car. It's aged pretty good. I don't know what the servicing costs on that are. I'm gonna say the only thing wrong with it that I've noticed, if you were planning on buying one of these as your daily driver, is the boot isn't what I'd class as big. It just fit my suitcase in, and my suitcase isn't massive, so that was like, not suitcase, yeah, suitcase, that's what they're called, isn't it? So that was kind of, not disappointing, but I was like, that was just a bit of a surprise, I guess, because I thought the boots were going to be massive on these. They're definitely got smaller since the R32. But other than that, let me summarise this car. I don't think I've been that informative about it, but at the end of the day, I am just driving around. I didn't even know I was getting this until, I didn't know I was actually getting this car until, what, like 3 hours ago. So I had no time to actually do any research or anything like that into it, but it has been like the best 4 hours of my trip out here, like obviously because I get to drive it, and it's been very special. And it just sucks that it's rained, because I'd love to have put more cameras around the car and get more shots of it. So let's summarize. This car has made my trip that little bit special. If my trip was an ice cream sundae, this would have been the cherry on top. This has completed the trip to be even better than it had been so far. It's made me forget about not feeling too great in the last few days, and it's just lifted my spirits. But I think if you had this car in your garage and you knew like you'd had a rough week with work or whatever, you know, rough week through whatever you've been doing, and you were like, do you know what, I'm just going to take the GTR out for the weekend. I'm just going to take it somewhere. I'm going to take the GTR out this weekend, and I'm just going to have an absolute blast in it. I feel like that could be your little saviour. That little, I'm going out in my GTR. I think it'd be amazing. Right guys, I think that is where I'm going to have to end the video. I'm taking it back now to the rental company. Well, I'm going to actually just going to get a coffee and sit somewhere for a little while. It's raining like mad and I don't want to get wet. So I really hope you've enjoyed this little video. It was very spur of the moment. I really just wanted to capture my time in the GTR out here as best as I could. And I don't know if I'm ever going to get to drive one of these again. If you have one that's modified and would be willing to let me have a go for a video, then let me know down below or drop me a DM on Instagram, because I would love to have a go in one of these that's got a bit more power in the dry. But if not, then so be it. What an amazing experience to end my trip here in Japan. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've watched any of my other Japan trip videos, I really hope you've enjoyed them. I'm heading back to England tomorrow, so what a way to finish up. I hope you guys will check out a few more videos on the channel, and I'll see you again next time. Peace.